Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are finally back here at the BB-Scho. I'm your host, Beebs, back with my all-time classic co-host, Chen. We're back. It's been a little bit of a hiatus. We've got an explanation. Don't worry about it. But before we get all into that, Chen, how you feeling today? We're 2 days out from football.
Oh yeah, it kind of sounds weird that it's only 2 days away. Really, this whole month, it's kind of felt like it's this thing it's right there, but you can't grasp. And Thursday night, we're gonna be getting home, getting ready, and all of a sudden, there's football on TV every Sunday for the next 4 or 5 months. We always got something to do on Sunday afternoons. It's just you can feel it in the air. You
It's a
breathe.
great time to be alive, man.
Oh man, it's America. You smell the fall, the leaves, and it's like it is football season. And the colder it gets, it's just more reassurance that you got football. It'll always bear with us through the cold. I'm excited, as you can probably tell, very elated. Got so much to talk about, go over. A lot happened this off season. But I'll let you kind of carry it away, man. You got a whole
Yeah.
run
So
for
for
us.
those of you that were followers of us last year, we were doing podcasts throughout the whole football season, and kind of once football ended, we teetered out pretty quickly because there wasn't much to talk about, especially in the dead of the off season. It's hard to. There's literally no content to be made with the NFL season post Super Bowl until I mean, I would even say like fantasy draft season because I'm not too big a fan in stalking and following the OTAs in the spring. But basically, we're going to make some changes. All right. So we used to talk a little bit about the NBA, the basketball. We want to put more emphasis on football, put more focus on giving you guys high quality content and analysis of the NFL. And that will carry on through the off season this year. We're going to be cutting back to just weekly episodes every Monday. This will be the only exception. So weekly episode every Monday, predicting the next week's games and talking about headlines and recapping the final week and who we think is good, moving up in the power rankings, so on and so forth. Um, that's really kind of the gist of it. Episodes might end up being a little bit shorter because of that, or maybe a little longer, depending on just kind of the meat of the week, I guess. But it'll be weekly episodes on Mondays. No more basketball, and we're going to really focus on delivering high quality NFL analysis and content. Um, with that being said, I mean, do you have any comments before we dive right back into our preseason predictions?
Oh no, I mean really just to touch on because I know some people are like, well, there is a lot to talk about with the off season. Our biggest thing, and you'll see it more with this run of episodes this year, is less speculation and pointing out the coulda, shoulda, more of, hey, this is our take, this is our analysis of what is currently going on, and even once we carry over to the off season, we have some plans of ways to keep that afloat. But definitely, I think hunkering down and us just focusing in on football is going to provide you guys some more high quality, higher caliber insight that will lead to just, hey, better conversations. Those Thanksgiving, conversations with your uncle, and you want to stump him, you want to make him feel like he's old or doesn't know what he's talking about. We got you.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'm ready to go. I don't know where you want to start. That's the best part about football. We can start anywhere. I
There's a
mean, there.
lot. There's a lot to go. I do want to add too. Forgot to say, we'll be having some more guests on this year throughout the season
Mhm.
to get a more variety of takes. We know it can get kind of stale when you got two diehard Packers fans, so you got to bring in the controversy, the variety of different opinions. Because yeah, we were a little bit riding too hard last year, but don't worry, it'll be a fun year, and we're both very excited to be back. With that being said, quick recap of last year's main segment was our pick 'em, picking every game. We picked every single game of the 2022 NFL season all the way through the Super Bowl to see who would win. And we lost at the Super Bowl, we being me. We were tied all the way through the Super Bowl. And I took the Eagles and you took the Chiefs, and it was a heck of a game. And so the final score, I had 169 wins and 115 losses. You had 170 wins and 114 losses. So in terms of career numbers, it's going to be tight to kick off the year. But before we dive into the week one slate, we do this every year. We did a decent job last year. I think we both kind of went 50-50, kind of picked up a couple here and there on our division winner picks. It's a good topic of discussion. So let's start there. And I'm going to kick it off to you. Who do you got taking the NFC North this year and why?
Whew. I mean, this isn't going to shock anybody. It's just more about how I'm going to justify it, right? And so the Packers are going to win the NFC North, and here's why. I'm going to make the case.
Gosh, oh
Uh,
man.
so the Lions, I think, I mean, the Bears, well, look, I could really talk and give them the time, but I'm not going to give them the time until they get out of literally the gutter of the NFL. Last time I checked, they had the least amount of wins last year, tied with the Texans, but they had more losses than the Texans. So they're bottom of the barrel. That's done. They're not getting talked about for me. Lions, they're going to be kind of there, but 9-8. When I see that record, that tells me 9-8 kind of again this year.
Ooh, they're a
I
Vegas favorite.
I know they're the Vegas favorite. I don't see. I know we talked a little bit, on our own about their defense. No one really doubts the offense. I love the play calling. I love the unit they trot out. They're always going to generate offense. It's just, can they stop teams from getting 40, 50 points put up on them? And I have not seen enough to me that is going to say, okay, this team is going to make a leap. I think it's an overperforming team that if they just kind of, make steady improvement, around 9-8 is where they're going to be at. And look, Minnesota is, we talked about this, 13-4. That is the most fraudulent 13-4 record I've probably ever witnessed. So many of their games were so close last year that it would not shock me if they actually have a losing record this year. I know that might be a hot take. People look at Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, but they lost Dalvin Cook. And can you tell me a significant O-line addition? Because
I
that's
think
what
their O line was actually solid last year.
did we watch quarterback?
Oh well, okay,
He sounded like
because
Hank
Kirk
Hill getting
Cousins'
hurt.
ribs were
He was like,
bruised.
oh, like he was
Yeah,
getting.
but their O line was still. I just think O lines that's a different topic. There's just not a lot of good O linemen in football, but they didn't. I don't think they had a bottom tier O line. It was middle of the pack at worst, but not top. I'm not going to say it's a top unit either. So,
It's middling. And when you have an aging Kirk, you have a guy who has been very durable, but I mean, knock on wood, because I love the guy. I wouldn't be shocked if it's contract year. They don't play well right out of the gate. He gets banged up, and all of a sudden, the Vikings are on this weird trajectory of, well, maybe we just draft a new guy and kind of do a soft reset, kind of like the Packers are doing this year. So that's really, and as you're kind of hearing, it's a lot of hypotheticals. But
hey,
I'm kind
that's what
of
makes the
hoping
preseason fun, man.
that the Packers. I think if they get the division, it's going to be at 9-8 or 10-7, and everybody else, like the Lions, Vikings, Bears
So
again, they
you
don't.
think it'll be pretty? You think it'll be pretty tight?
It
So you
is
got
going
the
to be,
Lions winning 9 games, and the Packers winning 10, and the
yes.
Vikings. You think it'll be tight?
Yeah, I think it is going to be down to the wire, just like last year. We're not going to know until the last week, which is great. But I know last year it was a rarity, but usually the Packers in clutch game to go to the playoff situations get it done at the
Yeah.
Chicago Bears once again. But I'd love to hear your takes on the NFC North this year.
Yeah. We're kind of on polar opposite sides, man. The only thing we agree on is that the Lions are overhyped. I look, I'm a big fan of that Lions team. I was rooting for them last year. I just don't see how they're a Vegas favorite to win this division. When the Vikings won 13 games last year, and
Odds.
you can say all you want. They won 13 games, won some big games, and this is the first time in Kirk Cousins' career as a Viking he's having the same offensive coordinator 2 seasons in a row. I think that's going to be a massive advantage that nobody's talking about.
Mm.
Dalvin Cook, losing Dalvin Cook is notable, but I really don't think they ran the ball very effective last year, honestly. And I think they'll be able to replace Adam Thielen with Jordan Addison, and that'll be an upgrade from what Adam Thielen was last year in the passing game. Not to mention TJ Hawkinson in the back half of the year lit it up, and now he just signed a full new contract, and he's going to be there for 17 games. So in my mind, the Vikings, I'm taking the Vikings to win this division. I think it's a disappointment simply from the perspective of if I were the Vikings or a Vikings fan, I would be disappointed if we don't win the division. The Bears are not threats in my opinion. They're going to win more than 3 games this year, but they're not going to win the division. The Packers are in a soft rebuild year. While I do, as a Packers fan, very excited about this young team. They are the youngest team in the NFL with an average age, I think, of like 25. They have hardly any experience in big games, hardly any experience at all. And
Speed,
to
need.
come out and win a division in your first year with a first year starting quarterback would be a true overperformance in my mind. I'm not saying that they won't, break 500. I think that they will be around that number. But the Vikings, if they regress by 3 wins, I think they can win this division. And, that's that's where my take comes from. And I think I agree. I think the line, I think it's going to be tight, but I'm going to take the Vikings just mainly off Kirk being really underrated in my opinion, and having the same OC twice in a row because that's a crazy stat. He's been there for how long, and they have not had the same play caller 2 years in a row. He's learned a new system every year. Just an insane disadvantage. But who you got for the NFC South? We'll keep it moving, pick it up a little bit. NFC South, kind of a you know, tallest. I'm not going to say that, but
Yeah, and you just want my division winners here. Is more or
yeah,
less
go ahead.
because
Yeah,
in terms of the South, I can't give you a per se one score. I think Tampa will be at the bottom. I think the Buccaneers will be at the bottom. If you're a bad football team last year with Tom Brady, you're going to stink this year. Um, that's where it gets interesting, though. I like to go with the Saints in terms of winning the division in my guts, but I'm actually going to take the Falcons.
wow.
I think what Arthur Smith was able to do with that group last year, I know 7-10, yeah, and the whole watching quarterback Marcus Mariota, you wouldn't think this team was as competitive as it was. But to really not be able to have a passing game in 2023, like at all, and they could still efficiently run the ball. I think if Desmond Ritter is just, even if he's below average, he just can't be Russell Wilson bad. Like they should be 9-8. I mean, they should be
Yeah,
winning.
not to mention they're adding Bijan Robinson instead of
Yes,
38-year-old Cordell Patterson.
true. And hey, I love Cordell. I'm not gonna lie. He's basically just a modern day Slash, without the throwing. But I love the idea of them having him along with Bijan,
Yeah,
Tyler Algier, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London still have to get their usage unlocked. So
yeah.
that's where I'm coming from, and I just don't see the Saints
This
allowing us.
Yeah, this division is a complete toss up. I'll be honest with you. I wrote every team name down except the Buccaneers and finally settled on the Saints. I actually think Derek Carr fits in well there, especially with the emergence of Chris Olave. They've still got some solid pieces on defense, definitely aging on defense. Even Marshawn Lattimore's, I think he's approaching 30 at this point. Um, they're definitely aging, but it's such a crapshoot. I just took the Saints. I really didn't put that much thought into it. I agree with the Falcons' take. I think what they did last year, what Arthur Smith was able to do last year, was a massive overperformance. And I think that the Panthers have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL, and I wouldn't be shocked if they win the division with like 8 wins because they're playing a terrible division and nobody else is good either. Like it's just one of those things where it could go anyway. And I just decided not to put too much thought into it. I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And before we move off it, I just want to hear what is your take on Derek Carr? Like, what does he really? How does he elevate the Saints team more than like an Andy Dalton or James Winston? How
I
much
think I've got. I mean,
as
it's
two is it
it's pure.
playoffs?
It's purely based off of Derek Carr historically being better than Jameis Winston and Andy
Andy
Dalton.
Dalton.
Like it's just one of those things where I feel like a lot of people looked really down on him last year, and I just think that was a bad situation and just a fresh start somewhere else could rejuvenate his career. Like I still think he's a solid quarterback. I'm not going to come out and say he's going to win an MVP or anything, but he's
Sure.
definitely good enough and has weapons around him now to I guess he had Devontae Adams last year, but he's got weapons around him now to kind of get back to 2021 Derek Carr with that Raiders team. Last year, I just think with McDaniels is just a crapshoot. And if you guys listened to last year, I do not much of a fan of him. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's really it.
No. Hey, I'm not pushing back on that. Um, Okay, I mean, for the NFC West, it's pretty clear to me the 49ers. I like Seattle. I think they're good. But then the Rams and Cardinals are not really on my radar in terms of Cardinals are openly tanking. I mean, I don't know if you
So,
have.
I mean, I have the Seahawks written down. This is just one of those things. It's just a hot take, I guess. 49ers, the way they've handled the Trey Lance
Nah,
situation.
I knew you'd be salty about
Oh, I'm
it.
for sure salty about that, but it's not even that. They're still a rock solid roster. Purdy looked great last year. I don't know. I just got a feeling. I think the Seahawks are going to be solid. They've added JSN. They've added Zach Charbonnet, however you say his name. Um, I wouldn't be shocked if this pig misses. Like, I'm not going to die on this hill, you know.
Mhm.
But and I wouldn't be shocked if the 49ers, win this division. They've just had an injury history. A lot of times when guys come in middle of the year at the quarterback position, they play really well. And when teams get an offseason to study them, they don't do as well. Sophomore slumps, that sort of thing. The great ones find a way to be good consistently. And I'm not saying I'm not sold on Brock Purdy, but there's murmurs in that locker room, the way they've handled the Lance situation. I wouldn't be shocked if the Purdy experience, we'll have much more dialogue on this as the year goes on. But if Purdy doesn't, pan out the way that Shanahan thinks he will, I wouldn't be shocked if he's on the hot seat because this was just a grossly mismanaged thing. They spent 3 first-round picks on a guy who played 4 games for him. Like, take whether you think he's bad or not, that was mismanaged.
Oh yeah.
So
I don't think you're wrong there. But hey, veteran viewers of the show, call back to maybe might have even been one of our last episodes of last season. I called the Trey Lance trade.
you did,
I
you
said it
did.
was
I'll give
Purdy's
you
job
full
to
credit.
move, and
Although,
I'm like,
to be
Lance is
fair,
fine if he moved if they're smart about it, and it was a little bit later than they definitely
yeah,
should
that's what I
have
was
done.
going to say. Is
Would have led to the
I
mismanagement,
remember I
but
remember that discussion with me being, I think they're going to compete for the job in camp, and then they
it's
did, and he
Purdy.
lost, and they traded him. Like,
I'm telling you, it was never a fair shot because even I'm going to tell you, I, as much of a Brock Purdy fan as I was, thought Lance looked better in the preseason and from than Darnold did. It's not that Darnold looked bad, but I don't think Shanahan is going to get enough flack for this, and neither is their GM John Lynch because of the fact that they have Brock Purdy. And even if Brock Purdy is even if he's just a guy, is it really that hard to play quarterback in Shanahan's system? I mean, we
well,
think of
we
this
can go
every
down.
year.
We're going to go down a
Yeah, we're gonna go
tangent
down a
here
rabbit hole,
because
but it's like every year they
I'm
get quarterback issues. They have injuries, they have 2 or 3 starters, and they finish at the top of their division every year. So that's why I can't go against them. And it stinks, but they may never get the true flack they should for
yeah,
3 first rounders for a guy you don't even need.
yeah.
You didn't even use
Well,
him.
and here's the thing is the guy is still like 23 years old. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
but
like he's like a
prospect.
bust. He's just
Yeah,
never played.
yeah.
And I'm sure we'll talk more about that as the Purdy stuff moves on. But how about the NFC East? Who you got?
I still like Philly. I think it wouldn't be shocking me if, for whatever reason, Dallas wins the division. Like they just on paper look like they're going to have a really good regular season. But I'm not sold on them in the playoffs. And look, if we're looking at just divisions, I like to just take the best team that I see. I'm going to go with the Eagles. Even if they don't get it, if they get a fifth seed in the playoffs, they're going to go far. This team's still juiced. I'm
Yeah,
not going
I agree fully on the Eagles. I do have the Giants winning the division.
to.
Yeah.
Okay, who did the Eagles lose?
Oh, this is
That's my only
solely
rebuttal.
this is solely on historical teams that just don't perform well after going to the Super Bowl. That's
Oh, okay.
the Bengals are like the one exception where you look at teams the year after they go to the Super Bowl, win or lose, but especially if they lose, they just don't perform well. I still have the Eagles making the playoffs, but I think this is going to be razor tight, probably tighter than the NFC North. And I think that the Giants grossly overperformed last year. And Daniel Jones has his best receiver he's ever had in Darren Waller, his best receiving target ever. And I think that this defense overperformed. I'm pretty high on the Giants this year, and we'll get more into it as we go on. But it just feels like a New York Giants type of season. I could be way off. I've had some hot takes in the past when it comes to this kind of stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
I like the Giants this year.
Yeah, I thought it was a giant season last year too until they ran into the Eagles. But
Oh, I
no,
don't
yeah,
get me wrong. Like, the Eagles are still rock solid, and the only reason I'm picking them is because teams that go to the Super Bowl for whatever reason sometimes don't do well the following
normally,
season.
normally. But I
Oh
will
yeah,
say,
and the Bengals were an exception. Man. They went back
yeah,
to the AFC
Bengals,
Championship.
and even the year before, to be honest, the Chiefs. Like even though
Oh
they
yeah,
lost,
well,
they're still back in
yeah,
it. But I will say yes, historically, recent history, no. Historically, yeah, it's
yeah.
there's you'd be surprised. AFC wise, the Wild AFC. I mean, do we want to start in the Wild West just because it's always the most
Okay.
memeable, fun?
Yeah, I mean,
I
I'm
mean, I'm
taking the
taking the
Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Yeah, I,
Yeah,
I learned my lesson last year, man. I'm
yeah.
taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
the Chargers are just never consistent enough. And look, I mean the Broncos, even with Sean Payton, that's you're spraying Febreze on a garbage can. I mean it's maybe 7-10. That's the
wow.
best I got for them.
Wow. All right. How about we'll go with another layup here, in my opinion. AFC South, I'm taking Jacksonville, and I think it's by like 5 or 6 games. I'm pretty high on Jacksonville this year. They've got a really easy schedule, and I don't see any other competitors in that division. I'm really low on Tennessee, and that'd be the only one.
They would need a meltdown to not win that division, in my opinion. I think the Colts are quiet sleepers. I
Oh,
think with
don't, dude! I got burned so bad on the Colts last year.
I know, and maybe I'm gonna fall for the trap, but I do love that hiring of the Eagles OC, Shane Steichen, and then getting Anthony Richardson in a similar Jalen Hurts system. I'm just in love with. It might be rocky this first year, but I'm actually confident that in that division of the draft QBs, Anthony Richardson, Stroud, and Levis, I'm pretty sold Richardson's gonna be the best out of that group.
Mm.
Um, I could go into that on a later date, but I have my issues with Stroud and Levis for sure. Um, but two more here. We got two more in the
Yeah.
AFC.
I will say too, I do have one small
Yeah.
take I want to get on record with Tennessee. And it just kind of came to me the other day. I hadn't thought about it all off season, but um, obviously Henry's aging and so is Tannehill, and that's why I'm out on them. However, the last time they had an elite receiver, they were really good. And what they've missed since they got rid of AJ Brown was that threat. And I'm
Yeah.
not sold on this idea that D Hop is just like not still a top 10, top five almost receiver in the NFL. I think that if he connects up with Tannehill, like he could put up similar numbers to what AJ Brown was doing, and that opens up the box to give it to Derrick Henry if he can stay healthy. I still think the Jaguars win the division.
Definitely. Yeah. Because no, Diop's definitely got his injury issues. And even when the Titans brought in Julio Jones, it's kind of like that was the last time. I mean, he was good. It was maybe
Yeah,
for like a game stretch with them.
yeah.
But definitely, good insight there. On the AFC East, I think this is where
Things get interesting, man.
it gets interesting. This is the first year I might be confident. I don't think the Patriots are. They might be in the bottom of the division. I might actually be confident in
I
saying
can't. I won't ever say that, but I did think it.
that's fair.
But there's a part of me that like wouldn't be shocked if the Patriots make the playoffs though. Like I just like they just
Yeah,
find
I
ways,
know.
man.
I know. It's a classic Bill Belichick, and um, I'm gonna say this: if all things go to plan, it should be the Jets taking this. When you look at it, as much as it hurts me as a Packers fan. The only issue on that Jets team is their O line. If they can just get some way to negate that, and they already kind of brought that in with softening up the defense, you have Dalvin Cook and Brees Hall now. Um, but they are also a team that is an injury away. They're very old in important positions. I mean, you got Dwayne Brown as a left tackle until Mekhi Becton's fully healthy, and then Aaron Rodgers, who is not injury prone, but he's had some significant injuries, and all it takes is one more.
Thank you.
Jets,
Thank you.
the Jets
I
fall
just
right
feel
out
like
of it.
nobody's saying that about Aaron Rodgers. And as a Packers fan, I feel like I know better than anybody that the last few years he has really struggled, not with like missing games injuries, but just like, oh, he's playing on a strained calf. Oh, he's playing on
Yeah,
a broken thumb. And it's like, as a Packers fan, I was kind of blind. I was like, oh, he's going to be himself. And last year he was not himself. I still think he could win an MVP this year. Like it wouldn't even shock me. But
yeah, right.
I just feel like nobody's acknowledging that. And like you said, their O line is shaky. And I've got the Bills taking this division. I think that the Bills are
Oh,
going to come out with a chip on their shoulder because they've been disrespected with all the hype the Jets are getting. And I'm just going to be honest. I know Aaron Rodgers, when he gets a lot of hype, he doesn't come up when he needs it most.
mm.
And I have been burned too many times on that. Wouldn't be shocked if the Jets win this division. They're like on paper, they look amazing, but I've got them in the playoffs along with the Bills. But I just think that the Bills have dominated this division, and I think they're going to continue to. And I just don't see them regressing because I just think Josh Allen is he's
Mm.
Josh freaking Allen. He's in a tier with Patrick Mahomes, and that's it. Well, Burrow, but
Yeah, it's fair. I note they're obviously in the playoffs for some reason they just can never get over the hump, and I don't think they got better. I think like the
so
Eagles
here's
confident in Philly holding it is because they retained everybody, and the Bills you lose Tremaine Edmonds. I mean that's your big thumper in the middle there.
I agree.
Defensively, I think they get older. Von Miller and Travius White has had injury issues. I don't think it's an issue of Josh Allen. It's even with Stephon Diggs, you hear of the rumblings of him being discontent and not wanting out.
Yeah.
I never am going to question Josh Allen because I think after a rough rookie start and whatnot, he's just a physical specimen, like you said, on Patrick Mahomes' level of can just do things quarterback 99% of quarterbacks can't do.
Yeah.
But I just think as a team, they took a step back, and with the Jets taking so many leaps forward, I think the switch might be inevitable. And I could say, like the Bills have been running this. They have.
Here's what I want to add and why I kind of I wrote this down and I'll just add this is defensively they're definitely aging. I totally agree. However, an aged Micah Hyde coming back and an aged Jordan Poyer is better than any other alternative. And they both missed basically the entire. I mean, they both missed the playoffs. Micah Hyde almost missed the entire season. I think he played like 2 games, and Jordan Poyer missed like half the season as well. And they were running with DeMar Hamlin, who ended up going out. And they were on free safety number 3. And I forget who their strong safety, their backup strong safety was. And it was just one of these things where they get those two studs back. I know they've lost Tremaine Edmonds and they've lost a couple pieces, but they're going to be, I mean, that's still one of the best secondaries in the league, and they're getting them back. And their defense was solid without them. So, and they'll get Von Miller back as well. But like I said, I'm not going to die on the hill. Why are you dying? Just because I brought up DeMar Hamlin? You are so bad.
Breathes right over it. You're like, yeah, he was just out. Like,
what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Like, you missed significant time. Like,
I don't know. That'll take getting used to, I guess. I just like, yeah, then on a third safety, and Jamar Hamlin's just out. Like he was out. Like he was.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
God.
that was very mature of me. We'll get around to like comeback player of the year award projections.
Yeah, that's
but
my
geez, man, no, I totally hear what you're saying. They got some depth coming back.
all right,
We got
now
the North.
yeah, the AFC North. I'll go first. I really wanted to pick the Ravens. I really did. I love what they've done. They added the guy from Chicago. I'm blanking on his name. Mid-season last year, Roquan Smith.
Oh yeah, Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
They've added Isaiah Likely, who I think is actually going to be a decent receiving threat for them. They added Odell. I like Zay Flowers. People are sleeping on Rashad Bateman. I think people are sleeping on J.K. Dobbins as well. This team is going to be really good. The Ravens are going to be really good, but they are so injury ridden that I just can't. I can't trust myself to pick them to win the division. They'll win 10 or 11 games. And the Bengals will win 12 or 13.
Yep. What I think is really going to happen, and this is my surprise winner of probably the year, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin,
Wow.
if you get this group ready to play, you got Kenny Pickett and George Pickens. I know there's this whole sophomore slump thing, but I think those two they're gonna pop off this year. I'm truly convinced that they're starting to get Pickens more of the reins in that offense and not just force feeding the bubble screens to Deontay Johnson and Najee Harris. I mean, they look like they're actually gonna run a system this year, which makes sense because in all honesty, they were limited with Big Ben before. You get the whole Kenny Pickett in there, but then you throw Trubisky out there. And so they've had to run this whole vanilla offense to kind of keep it. And well, we might switch quarterbacks. We don't want to throw in too much. They get to go fully into this with this young, energetic Pat Freiermuth. I forgot to mention him. And they went 9-8 last year in that division with all the stuff that was going on. I just love Mike Tomlin as a coach, and I think you keep giving him pieces like this. It's only a matter of time before we see the Steelers kind of get back to the age of old. I mean, it was not too far removed. They went like 13, 14, I get they ended that season in a disaster, but it was with, basically retired Big Ben. Uh, so, and I just think, like I said, Ravens always get hurt. Bengals are an injury to a way that Steelers come out on top.
I don't hate that take. I think the Steelers will find a way to manufacture a winning season out of this. But I think they're a year away. I really like that's kind of where I was like, I just think that the Ravens and the Bengals are just they're just really that good. And I think the Steelers are a year away. I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think they'll win the division. Wouldn't be shocked if they make the playoffs though. I think that's a very solid take. They get TJ Watt back too. I mean, he missed significant time last year.
Didn't even mention that.
Yeah, like yeah,
so
they get their best defender back. Like it's going to be significant. So that takes out all the division winners. How do you see the playoff picture shaping out? Let's make some bold predictions here. Seed them 1 through 7. Who do you got? We'll go AFC first.
Yeah, 1 through 7. All right. If we're just gonna go that route.
Or if you want to, yeah, we can go 1 through 7 because
yeah. No, I got an ideology of what I got here.
Okay.
First, if we're going regular season, like no issues, I think actually the Chiefs probably are going to finish with a very good regular season. And then, shocker. At number 2, we'll go with the Jets. I'll throw the Jets there. Jaguars at 3. And I'm actually going to switch that because I actually have the Jaguars at 4 because the Steelers are at 3.
Whoa!
If they take that division, they're going to need a lot of wins. They will need probably like 12 wins minimum to get that North. So they're going to have to, by fault, I think, get 3. So then I'll play, Jags at 4.
So you've got the Jets and the Chiefs winning more than 12 games.
Essentially, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, mathematically.
I think both those teams are 13 win plus units if healthy. I mean, we forget how bad that Jets was. Like their offense was so bad. Like,
yeah, no, I don't forget, man. I don't.
But no, for the wild card spots, 5, I'm gonna give to the Bengals. I mean, they just get pushed out because of the way I have things here. And again, you think of teams that get left out. 6 Bills, and then 7 Ravens. But then I got the Chargers are out. I mean, the Dolphins are out.
Well, I mean, we could talk about the Dolphins. Actually, I'm pretty low on the Dolphins.
We should. We should talk because for some reason that seems to be the case with people, and I don't really know why. Like, I don't really feel it either. I didn't make a whole lot of changes, and maybe I'm not that high on Tua, but they didn't know their QB week to week, and they still finished 9-8.
I'm not bought in on their defensive schematics with so much man coverage. They've had success with it in the past, and with just the way their division is shaping out now, I just see them losing more games because they're not going to win 2 games against the Jets. The Patriots are going to be 2 tough wins. I don't recall if they swept them last year. I don't recall their record against them, but then the Bills are still going to be tough. And look, I actually stand by Tua for a lot of the hate, this flack he gets, but it's more so in the sense that the Jets are now a serious Super Bowl contender that I just don't see 3 teams in that division. Of the divisions in the AFC to have 3 teams make it, the AFC North is far more likely to me. Or even, I guess I would slide them in there because the AFC South is not going to have 2. But I would rather essentially, I'd prefer to take the Steelers over the Dolphins or the Ravens or the Chargers.
I got Steelers all the way.
Yeah,
they're a more consistent unit, which is funny because they're one of the younger ones when we're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely. the Chargers.
Here's my 1 through 7. I'm actually fairly low on the Chiefs this year for a couple of reasons, and I know I've gotten burned by
I'm
them
pretty
in the
sure you said
past.
it last year, but yeah,
No, no,
I'm
I'm not as dumb. I'm not as low as I was last year. I still think they'll win the division, but I'm just going to upfront say that if they don't find a way to get Chris Jones on that field, they are not going to be a good team this year. I could see them losing the division without Chris Jones. And now we've got rumors as of today. Chris Jones is what makes that defense like serviceable, in my opinion. Like I'm just being honest. He is their best defender. I think he's their third most valuable player, potentially second most valuable player, depending on how you feel about Travis Kelce. There's rumors today that Kelce might not even play in their first game because he hurt his knee. I just even if Chris Jones misses 3 or 4 games at the start of the year, that's going to be significant when it comes to getting the number 1 seed. And that's why I feel like I still got them winning the division. I just don't think they're going to be the number 1 seed. I've got the Bills as a number 1 seed. I think that the Bills are going to sweep the Dolphins and the Patriots, probably split with the Jets, and win the rest of their games. Not the rest of their games, but win a significant amount of games to get the number 1 seed. And I was tempted to do this because I do love their schedules easy. I wouldn't be shocked if the Jaguars get the 1 seed because they have no competition and they're going to get a lot of wins. Like that's the way I'm looking at that. It's they're going to win. They might win every division game this year unless they lose one of the Titans. Who's going to beat them?
No, that's a true point. It's like 6 wins for them right there.
Yeah,
So
and we're all high on that. And then I've got the Bengals at 3. I think that's going to be a tight division. They're going to win 11, 12 games. Chiefs at 4. I think they're going to be. They're still going to be a rock solid. They're going to be rock solid, and they're going to be super hot going into the playoffs as they always are. And then we get to the wild card teams. This is where things get a little. This is where it got really, really hard, as we just talked about with the Dolphins and whatnot. I've got the Ravens at 5. Like I said, I'm pretty high on the Ravens. Wouldn't be shocked if they win that division, but I just can't see it. Can't see them staying healthy because they just never seem to stay fully healthy for 17 games. The Jets at 6. And a lot of these are pretty interchangeable, just kind of guesses. Like I'm not power ranking these teams by any means. Just like the Jets are gonna make the playoffs. And then the 7th spot, I'm going Chargers. I can't see them missing. Dude, they made the playoffs last year with Joshua Palmer at receiver. I swear. Like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen missed like a combined 14 games. I'm pretty sure. I love their Quentin Johnston pick. Pretty low on Eckler. I think he's reaching his pinnacle of age, but I'm just that high on Justin Herbert. Like I just think I know Jake hates he hates Justin Herbert, but I'm just that high on him. Like it's hard to see. He's dragged these teams to the playoffs with nobody healthy, and if they can just stay, and I know I say the same thing about the Ravens and go the other way, but if they can just stay healthy, keep Keenan Allen for the season, like they're gonna make the playoffs. Like I just.
I'll be watching Herbert this year because I didn't forget that ghost mode performance. And if they're healthy and they don't make playoffs, it's gonna because there's people who will really try and put him in the same competition as like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and it's like you see the talent. Like Will Levis has got that ability, potential too. But we got to see it translate on the field. And Herbert is just not in that caliber of quarterback. So I can see where people kind of hate on the man because I think at times he just gets way too much hype. He still has yet to, what is it? He's even won a playoff game?
No, he hasn't. He might have won a wild card game, actually. I can't remember.
Year or two.
But he gets a lot of hype. It's one of those things where if Justin Herbert played in the NFC, we'd think I'm not convinced that we wouldn't think about him like Jalen Hurts. Like, because he would just like be such a threat. But because he's playing Mahomes twice every year, he's got Josh Allen in his conference, and now he's got Aaron Rodgers in his conference. It's just one of those things where it's like he can't seem to climb. And obviously you got to win the big games, but I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because, I don't think they're going to win any playoff games till they fire what's his face, but I think they can get back.
Okay. No, I get that for sure.
How about the NFC? Let's turn it over. Let's go to the NFC. This is a little more wide open, in my opinion. It's not a lot of super teams.
Yeah, I'm gonna just because I think my four were pretty easy. I'm realistic in terms of like the Packers are gonna get the one seed. Um, but I do have them winning the division, so I think they'll get four. But I got Philly on top and San Fran, and then actually I keep doing this because this actually is going to tie into my Coach of the Year pick. I'm actually going to have San Fran at three because I have Falcons at two. I think
Wow.
San Fran might get banged up, and we just kind of touched on the easy wins with the Jags. I think
Oh yeah.
if this happens with Atlanta, where they just get some easy wins. Buccaneers are trash, 2-0. Panthers have the rookie issues. All of a sudden, they're going to have a really good record in this NFC. And then Arthur Smith would be looked at as coach of the year candidate. I
He should have
mean,
been. He was a candidate last year.
exactly. I think this would really put him over the edge. Um, so I'm going to have in the order of Eagles,
Falcons.
Falcons, you got 49ers, Packers at five. And this is where it might just fall NFC East, to be honest, is the Cowboys. And then at six is where I think the Vikings find their way. They find a way to get in. I don't think they completely miss all entirely. Um, but then I will say the Giants will get that seventh spot. I think those wild card records might be a lot higher than people are anticipating, in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
we could see some like 11-6 at the sixth and seventh spot. I don't think it's going to be some 8-9, team just getting shoot in or 9-8 this year. We'll see. We'll see. We say that every year.
We do. All right. So here's how I've got. I'm still a little bit undecided on my seventh seed, and we'll get to that. But number one, I've got the Vikings getting the one seed back to back years. Like I said,
Eagles got it one.
I don't even have the Eagles win the division.
No, but I'm saying the Eagles got
You're
one.
right. You're right. Why do I remember them getting the one seed? I don't
You're
know.
good.
I've
You're
got
good.
the Vikings taking the one seed, probably winning 12-ish games again this year. Then for easiness of schedule, like I said, I took the Seahawks, and comparatively speaking, in the other divisions, with my picks, I think the Seahawks are going to have more wins than the Giants and the Saints because the Giants, the NFC East is stacked, and I'm not that high on the Saints. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't win the division. So it's one of those where I've got Giants at three, Saints at four, but Seahawks at two, just because those other two divisions are going to be so tight. Here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Okay, five, I've got the Cowboys, just like you. I think that they're solid. They've got an incredible defense. We're kind of like we'll talk more about this as the year goes on, but I think clock is ticking for Dak and playoff success. Like he's very
Oh,
solid
yeah.
when he's healthy, and he's very underrated. But it's also one of those things where you look at it and it's like, man, like this should be their year. Like, and I know that's really stereotypical for a Cowboys fan, but like,
Every
and I'm
single
not saying
year.
to like win the Super Bowl, but like to go to the NFC Championship, like, you know what I'm saying? They just don't
The
end up.
squad's
They can't get, yeah, they can't get out of the divisional round. It feels like, and it's just like there's the NFC is weak this year. I, it's just there outside of Philly, their division rival. It's open.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, I'm high on the Giants, but I'm talking about from a macro view of the public. I've got the Eagles at six. I think the Eagles get in. I don't know if they win a playoff game. I'm not
That is,
super high on them, like I
that is
said.
wild to me.
I mean,
It's wild to see.
they might win 10
Yeah.
games. Like they might win 10 games and get the six. And then at seven, I've got Niners slash Packers. The brain in me is saying take the Niners because there's just no way that they're not in the playoffs. And I think I will end up doing that. But I would not be shocked if the Packers find a way to make the playoffs this year. Just based on, my fandom. Like there's no logic behind that because on paper they look horrible. Not horrible, but on paper they do not look like a playoff team. They are in a rebuild. And I just think back to when like Rodgers took over. I think his first year he was 8-8. Like I don't think they made the playoffs. It's one of those things where I'm not looking for a Super Bowl season out of the Packers this year. I'm really just looking to beat the Bears and have Jordan Love look good, competent, and develop. Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, that sort of thing. But
Definitely.
Vikings, Seahawks, Giants, Saints, Cowboys, Eagles, 49ers. That's my NFC playoff picture.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I respect it. Definitely
Notice
agree with it.
neither one of us got the Lions. That is crazy. They are
They were
so
just first out for me. Honestly, I think I just have them at eight. I really can't. And with the how stacked the NFC East is, it's
Yeah.
just hard to
I mean,
get that
I've got three teams in the NFC East. Like
right.
that's tough, man. That's tough.
Tough.
All right, let's cap off our playoff predictions and let's lay down 2 days before the kickoff who you got in the Super Bowl. We don't have to go game by game in the playoffs. Just tell me who your Super Bowl is and who's your winner.
Super Bowl winner. I got the Packers over the Jets in
Oh man, can you imagine?
27-21. Hey, I think some guy in our Knocks said it was the Jets were going to win like 31-21 over the 49ers. I think the Jets get there as well. I just think they lose to the Packers.
Oh, you're actually serious.
Oh, I mean,
That's
yeah,
actually the record. That's actually the pick you're putting down.
I have to stay in character. If I don't pick
Oh
the
my
Packers to win the
gosh.
Super Bowl, I don't feel good about it. I just don't feel good about it.
I picked him in the Super Bowl. See, I look at it from just a different perspective. I picked him in the Super Bowl last year, and I genuinely felt that way. And they missed the playoffs. So now I'm just picking them to miss the playoffs, and hopefully it turns out otherwise, right? Maybe it's me. My Super Bowl, I've got the Bengals winning the Super Bowl this year. I think that they finally get over the hump. I've got them seeded over the Chiefs. I think that's significant when they play them probably in the playoffs. I'm not sold on the Bills in the playoffs. I don't know why. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills finally go over the hump, and I'd love to see it because I actually like that team. I like Josh Allen. But I've got the Bengals beating the Giants in the Super Bowl. I think that the Giants, I'm just sold on Brian Dable, man. I try to always have a hot take in my Super Bowl predictions. Last year I rode with the Colts. That was wild.
Yeah. All
Both my
time.
Super Bowl predictions last year missed the playoffs. I don't think that'll happen this year. And I think the Giants are a more realistic hot take. We've dialed it back a little bit. Bengals over the Giants, Super Bowl 56. I've just got I don't know. I'm just very high on the Giants this year. That's how I'll say it.
It's fair, and honestly, I think the best way to close this segment is just to say how much of speculation this is. Because to be honest with you, as bad as the Colts were last year, in at the time, putting them in the Super Bowl like wasn't laughable. Like they were really in the
Oh,
position of
they were very hyped in the preseason.
like, yeah,
Like,
they were in a
yeah,
position now where the Jaguars are of like, oh, this should be the clear South winner. Like they just brought in Matt Ryan, like they shouldn't be getting worse. Like
yeah.
no problem. And then the train just went way off the track. So there's probably be a couple of those this year. Right away I'm thinking of the Saints for some reason. I think it hasn't happened to them in a while. Maybe that's why. Chargers, that kind
Yeah.
of jumps out. Cleveland, I know weren't like really good, but I could see like Deshaun Watson just
Dude,
not panning out, and all of a sudden that team is
I'm
like,
actually on the other side of Cleveland. I think that I know I didn't put them in my playoffs, but they might have been first or second team out for me.
they
Like
should
they're going to take games off the Ravens and they're going to take games off the Bengals. I think they've improved their defense. And like, is
have.
Deshaun Watson going to be worse than Jacoby Brissett was? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's,
Statistically he was.
well,
Statistically last year he was, and that's where
yeah, but
it's
like, I'm
we
giving him
say
the
it all
benefit
the
of the
time.
doubt. I'm like, dude, if you're suspended for the first 11 weeks of the season, like, I'm just gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. He wasn't in training camp. He didn't really like he didn't join the team till OTAs basically this year. Like it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know.
Who everyone else they gave the benefit of the doubt for last year?
Don't say it.
Broncos country. Let's
Oh
let's
my
not.
gosh.
He was healthy last year. He was good in Seattle. He's not slowing down. Tell me, you don't see it. It just happens. And hey, I'm actually kind of excited. This year it's gonna happen to somebody. I just don't know who it's gonna be. But I'm really funny.
All right. Let's move into a little bit of end of year awards. We can kind of go quickly through these because there's not much to say because they're pretty much shots in the dark at this point, this early. But who's your MVP?
Patrick Mahomes. It's one of
Uh,
those LeBron years, I think, where you think about it, It's like, I think he just gets one.
I think Josh Allen gets it due to voter fatigue. I think Josh Allen finally like he puts together
Maybe.
another like 800 rushing yard, 4,700 passing yard season with 40 touchdowns, and people are like, yeah, we'll give him one. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I've
right.
got the Bills as the one seed, so that was kind of in
Fitting.
cohesion with that. Coach of the year, you said Arthur Smith.
Indeed, I will stick to that.
I am going to go with Doug Peterson. He's kind of the popular pick, but high on the Jaguars. 2 year
Definitely.
turnaround. If they win the division and are really the 2 seed that I think they can be, I think he's a shoe in. Do we really need to talk about comeback player of the year picks or yeah?
Anybody else, you
Yeah.
just are a bad voter.
All right, offensive player of the year. Who do you got? This is a little bit different of you know,
Yeah, this
here.
is this is spicy. This is spicy. I'm gonna say it right now. I'm gonna go with Aaron Jones. I
Wow.
think 20 touchdowns plus Aaron Jones, whether it's
Wow.
rushing and receiving combined. I think I have seen him get limited usage in the preseason. Really, just they're seeing him fresh for, but I think they are going to work this man. And I think even with AJ Dillon mixing things up, it is easier to score. You can score more creatively with Aaron Jones than just handing up the middle with AJ Dillon. So I just think it's one of those years. I don't think Love is going to be asked to make a lot of throws. I could see him throwing for more than like 20 touchdowns, but there's not like a whole lot of guys think they're going to come out and be like right away established receivers. I think that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
So
I like the pick. I mean, he's in a good situation to just put up numbers.
the time is now.
Um, I've got a similar selection. I've got Nick Chubb. I think he's kind of been due. I think this might be his last. I think this will be his last year of being really effective as a fantasy running back, and it's just as he's going to be a solid like bruiser for a couple more years. But as a mega superstar, I think this is one of his last windows. No Kareem Hunt anymore, and that's the main reason why I've
Mm.
got him slotted in. He's going to get the same usage, if not more, in the passing game. And I think that the Browns win a decent amount of games, and he just puts up ridiculous numbers. Like I just wouldn't be shocked. Surprised we had two running backs there.
I was
Who's your
debating with Garrett Wilson, but my own fandom kind of overruled me. I was like, oh, cool story to go from offensive rookie of the year, offensive player of the year. But I'm gonna go with Aaron Jones, man. Just got a feeling. Just got a good feeling.
defensive player of the year?
This one, I actually am going to stick Jets. I'm going to go with Sauce Gardner. I think he is the one
Wow,
that makes the leap from a rookie player of the year, this side of the ball, to respectively the player of the year. I
wow.
think the Jets have a lot of primetime games. I think they got a lot of eyes on them. He gets to like anything close to the Revis Island hype. Like, are we really saying Sauce can't get like 2 or 3 pick sixes in a season? Like, that's all it's going to
That's a
take.
lot of pick sixes, man.
I'm saying he houses one on Mac Jones or whoever Bill Belichick finds, or he houses one against one of the rookies, the many rookies we got going out this year. And there's gonna be some traction. And when I look at like Chris Jones, you mentioned Nick Bosa is in a contract dispute. Aaron Donald is gonna be quiet considering where his team's at. I could see corner. I really could. But curious
Yeah,
to hear
so
your point.
I guess I'm realizing this now that I picked two Browns players for the players of the year.
Miles Garrett, huh?
Yeah, I picked Miles Garrett. I think it's a pretty safe pick.
I
It's
could see 20 sacks. He
yeah,
really
like he
needs to
speaks
stay
for
healthy.
himself. He
Yeah.
stays healthy. I think they've improved the other sides of that pass rush too, where it's not like, oh, we can triple team him. Like,
Hmm. Definitely.
and so I've got Miles Garrett. I really, honestly, I don't think that both of them are going to win at least the playoffs. Like that would be insanity.
Oh, for sure.
Um, but I didn't think that far when I made the picks. So I'm more confident in Miles Garrett pick than Nick Chubb, but I'll stick with
Yeah.
the Nick Chubb.
Okay.
Offensive rookie of the year. I'm taking Jameer Gibbs. I think he's just going to get the ball. I know Bijan's the popular pick, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
be shocked if Jameer Gibbs has like 1,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rushing yards. Like he's just, I think it just sounds like the word out of camp is they're going to give him the ball every other play.
Hey, I can't argue with that. I get wary of running backs, to be honest. I know it's pretty common for them to get the running back of the award, but like Bishop Sankey for some reason, just a nightmare for me. I bought into all the hype for fantasy, like Gibbs. It's use this guy, and nobody probably even knows who Bishop Sankey is
Bishop Sankey, that's a
anymore.
blast from the
Yeah, I took him in the 5th round. That was a mistake. Let's put it that way. I'm gonna go with Anthony Richardson. I'm going to go quarterback. And like I said before, the system he's in, it should produce a lot of numbers. And if those turn into rushing, I mean, we see how people view Fields. Guy's basically a running back, hasn't even established himself in the passer, and they think he's in the top, 10 quarterbacks of the league. You talk to some people. So if Anthony Richardson is anywhere around that level, which I think he is, he projects to be, um, he's my offensive rookie of the year.
All right. Defensive rookie of the year. I'm just gonna go straight out with it. Just taking the favorite, Jalen Carter. Like I think he's a beast, man. Like I don't know how the Eagles got him at like pick 8 or 9, whatever that was. Like that's just, what a that's a classic. How did Howie Long pull that off? Like it's just that moment. Like
Yep. Yeah, the Eagles kind of, I'm going to be honest with you, kind of usually take the players I feel like I would just take. They're
yeah,
like, oh, like this is best available. Like, why wouldn't they just, oh, okay. And you kind of talk yourself into why a team took a player. But even like they went out and got Miles Jack for cheap last year. They're like, oh, we need defense help. Let's get Sue and Linval Joseph. Like, they're not afraid to shy away from guys can play.
yeah,
That's scheme fit. But yeah, I'm going to go defense is tough because I think if it's not Jalen Carter, someone is really gonna have to step it up and just come
yeah.
and shock me. And I think that might be Brian Branch because I always think of the Lions. I think of they're very minimal in terms like they added a safety in Chauncey Gardner Johnson, but I think Brian Branch can play a lot in the box.
He was my number 2 pick.
Tackles. Yeah,
Yeah,
so we'll go with him. Defensive
yeah.
player of the year.
That rounds it out, and all we got left now. Um, We're gonna dive into our week 1 slate, and then we'll kind of go rapid fire on this one,
Okay.
and then we'll do our fantasy frenzy draft as well. We'll explain that when it gets to it. But to start us off, who you got on Thursday? Lions in Kansas City. Who you got?
Yeah, Chiefs. Chiefs all the way.
Yeah, no Travis Kelsey and no Chris Jones. I'm taking the Lions to shock the world. Just changed that pick today, though. I had the Chiefs before Kelsey was questionable.
Okay. Okay.
Bengals going into Cleveland. Who you got?
Going into Cleveland, it makes it interesting. So I'm actually going to take Cleveland here. I'm
Wow.
going
All
to take
right.
the Browns.
Yeah, I'm riding. I'm riding with the Bengals. I'm not. It's week 1, dude. I think week 1 was statistically our worst picked week last year too, because you don't know.
Yep.
But Ravens Texans. Do we need to talk about it? So,
No.
yeah.
Shocked that goes differently.
Vikings are at home against the Buccaneers.
Vikings for sure. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Should be a track meet.
Panthers at Falcons. I'm taking Carolina. Desmond
I'm going to take
Ritter's.
Falcons.
Yeah, I figured you would. You're high on
Yeah.
that. I'm going to take Carolina. I think Bryce Young comes out, surprises some people. Wouldn't be shocked. This was a kind of a 50-50 game for me. Cardinals at Commanders. Dude, I don't genuinely think I'll pick the Cardinals one time this entire season. Like I'm taking the Commanders here.
Agreed. Definitely going with Commanders.
Jaguars at Colts. You're a little high on the Colts. I'm taking the Jags, obviously, but who you got?
Take the Jags as well. I don't think the Colts get it week 1.
49ers at Steelers.
Ooh, Steelers need it.
Interesting.
They're going to project the way I think. They need this win.
Interesting. I'm going to ride with the 49ers. Just the popular pick. I wouldn't be sure. I had the Steelers written down, though, and I changed it last second. Just defense will cause problems for young Kenny Pickett. But Titans at Saints. I'm taking the Saints. Obviously, I'm high on them in the division. I think these are the kind of games that they're going to end up winning, especially at home.
I'm going to take the Titans. I'm going to take Vrabel and his.
Yeah, he wouldn't shot.
Not cooking down there.
All right, so here's where it gets to some real garbage. Raiders at Broncos.
Broncos.
Yeah, me too, man. Trust in Sean Payton, I guess, but man,
I'm not watching.
It'll be a short leash this year. Eagles at Patriots. I'm taking Philly. I love the Patriots defense, but
not taking.
It does feel like a Belichick type, like, oh, we're playing the Super Bowl, defending.
It feels like a trap. I feel like I'm gonna look back and be like, I knew it, but I'm still gonna take the Eagles.
Yeah. Rams at Seahawks. I'm not hesitating. In Seattle, I'm taking Seahawks. I just don't bet against them at home. Dolphins at Chargers. I'm rolling with the Chargers. As I said, I'm pretty low on the Dolphins. My hot take of the year is the Dolphins win like 6 or 7 games, but
That's fair. I'm gonna go reverse because I don't like the Chargers. I'm gonna go
That's
with the
that's
Dolphins.
fair. That's
Um,
fair.
yeah,
Packers at Bears. I'm not even asking. Cowboys at Giants on Sunday Night Football. I've got the Giants. That's a
take
good
the
Sunday Night
Giants as
Football
well.
game.
I want to see Cowboys fans kind of melt down. So please, Giants.
And then
Shock.
Bills at Jets on Monday night. This is an incredible Sunday and Monday night slate
Yeah.
for week one. Who you got?
At Jets, I actually think it's gonna be a repeat. Rodgers never does good week one for some odd reason, and the Bills they were just bringing pressure week one. I feel like that's kind of the way to go. Get teams kind of off their game as they're trying to feel themselves out. They still got Von Miller, as old as he may be. So Bills.
Yep, I'm taking the Bills too. So that's that. We'll go through those selections again. We'll recap the week, give you guys how we do, keep track of it as we go. But now we're going to dive in. We'll do this final couple minutes of the show here, wrap it up. Fantasy Frenzy. It's a game we've created. You can't draft the same player 2 weeks in a row. I'll let Christian take the first pick this year, but basically we filled the team of a quarterback, one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, a kicker, and a defense. No player can be drafted 2 weeks in a row. Rules are subject to change. We're trying to find a way to make this a little more sweaty, a little tryhards. We might just say a player can only be selected twice a little year. Feel free to send in suggestions. But for week one, the slate's wide open. We'll have the updated rules in week two. But for week one, it shouldn't affect whatever rule change we make from last year. Should not affect the slate. So I'll give you the first overall pick. And actually, traditionally, it's always been Travis Kelsey, but that's not going to be an option this week.
I was thinking that, usually I was slotting in Travis Kelsey, but I've been thinking a lot about this all day because right now it's Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson, and none of these matchups are like screaming to me. I mean, I think maybe Jamar Chase on Denzel Ward I don't love, so I'm just gonna take Tyreek Hill. He's always solid for me when I have him on my fantasy rosters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Personal favorite.
there's that. You always take Tyreek Hill, bro. I
Yeah.
do swear. All right, I'm gonna follow that up. I'm gonna follow that up with. Let me look at these matchups. Play this back. Yeah, dude. Bucks at Vikings. I'm taking Justin Jefferson and not really thinking twice about it. He lit it up last year against the Packers in Week One. Like
It's
I
true.
wouldn't be surprised if he gets off to a 200-yard start. Like who's stopping him on that Bucks defense, man?
No, it's they got just kind of a whatever there. I'm gonna go with Jamar Chase then and just
Yeah, fair
lock out
enough.
receivers. Should be 20
Very,
both.
very fair. I'm going to follow up my receiver selection. I guess I don't. Well, yeah, that's tough. Week one's a little tough because you don't always know for sure. You really don't.
Right.
But I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go Garrett Wilson. I think Sunday Night Football with Rodgers, new quarterback, new system. The guy had 1,700 receiving yards last year with me out there at quarterback. Like the dude's a stud. Um, so I'll roll with Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver two.
Fair, no, it's always a good selection. I mean, offense rookie of the year, he's only going to improve. I wanted to, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna just max out at receiver. We'll go Devontae Adams.
Wow.
Yes.
I have a confession to make. I don't have Devontae Adams in a single fantasy league this year. Aren't they? Aren't they
Yes.
rolling with Jarrett Stidham?
Jimmy. They got Jimmy
Oh,
G.
they got Jimmy G. I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
But we'll see. He's always kind of a lock in terms of a high floor.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna switch it over to running back here, and this is where things do running back picks, especially early in the year when you don't know like who's gonna get used a lot, are so like tough.
Right.
But I'm gonna roll with Austin Eckler against the Dolphins. I think the way that they run that defense, I just think that he's just gonna catch a lot of passes. And for those who don't know, we do full point PPR for this format. So I think he's just a matchup nightmare against linebackers and man coverage. So I'm gonna go Austin Eckler with my RB.
All right. All right. Uh, this might be interesting to do, but it's week one, so I feel like Arthur Smith will definitely commit to it. I'm going to take the rookie Bijan Robinson.
That is a crazy pick. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Week one takes
yeah,
the
I
rookie.
know, but
I
you know
get it
what?
if it's a
He pops
you know
off.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's dicey. I'll tell you that.
That is a crazy pick. I want to follow up Austin Eckler with somebody else who I think is kind of getting slept on this year. Um, well, I'm torn between two guys. Torn between two guys. I've already made my case for Nick Chubb, but um, I'm torn between him and somebody else. I guess I'll roll with Nick Chubb. I think that they're going to run the ball a lot just to settle in Watson. Um, and if you don't take the guy I'm thinking of, I will explain later. But go ahead.
Um, I think the guy you're thinking of might be Tony Pollard.
No, it actually wasn't. I'm pretty high on him this year.
Yeah, I'm really on him as well. I'm going to take Christian McCaffrey.
Ah,
If Bijan Robinson busts, hopefully McCaffrey can make up for it with PPR points.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, I'm gonna grab my because I'm gonna go receiver, and you've already got your flex, so I have no need to push it. I'm gonna grab Darren Waller here
Oh,
because with the absence of Travis Kelsey, I just think he's the tight end. Like I'm just very high on him. I have him in a lot of my leagues. I think he's gonna be rock solid this year. He's like, and they're on Sunday Night Football against the Giants. Like he's gonna be a big part of the game plan. Like I'm excited.
no, it's a good pick.
He's so upset.
I'm I am not sure. All the better tight ends available are questionable. And I mean questionable, it is truly 50-50. I think the only guy it seems it's trending will play is TJ Hawkinson. I don't love taking Travis Kelsey on I mean, he plays in 2 days, and that injury just happened. I'll take Trav. Yeah, I'm going to take TJ Hawkinson.
Solid pick. He was my second option without Kelsey there.
Gets me.
And I'm pretty high on him this year too for the
Yeah.
rest of the year. But I'm gonna go QB here, and I'm kind of torn a little bit. I'm a little bit torn, but I think the safe option is Jalen Hurts. I know he's got that. I know he's got that matchup against the Belichick defense, but I just think the rushing upside is too high. Like I really do. And I'd love to pick Fields, but I'm not picking him when he's playing against the Packers. I refuse. So Jalen Hurts, QB.
Yeah. I'll take Mahomes.
Yeah, I would have done that if Patrick Kelsey
Yeah.
was going to play. I don't think he's
Boy.
going to. All right, I'll grab my defense here. Let me just scan these matchups really quick. I'm actually tempted to take the Commanders. I'm not even
Oh,
gonna
no,
lie.
trust me, they're up on my list. Yeah.
Like it's that bad of
It's
a matchup.
nice.
But
match.
scan these matchups. Yeah, I think I will. I will take the Commanders. They look like the most intriguing team playing a horrible offense. So, I would take I would take the Jets, but they're playing the Bills this week, and the Cowboys are playing the Giants, who I'm high on. So,
Yeah. I
yeah,
got the Ravens because
yeah,
they got Stroud, and we
yeah.
were find my opinions out on Stroud. I think it's gonna be a disaster for him week one.
I'm gonna grab Graham Gano, my
Of
kicker.
course. My boy.
Long time listeners of the show know that nostalgia behind that pick. But yeah, Graham Gano is my kicker.
Guess I'll get Justin Tucker. And some people are probably hearing that and like, why is he upset about that? You just have to be there. You just have to be there. Graham,
Justin Tucker.
he's been on leagues for years. I mean, I
And
remember.
then, sorry, I'm going to close out my flex spot with Calvin Ridley as my flex. A little bit risky. Could go with a bigger name, but dude, I'm so high on Calvin Ridley this year, and I think I think he's going to be a freaking stud. One of the best moves I've ever seen out of a GM from the Jaguars in the middle of an up season for them, casually solving their biggest roster question mark and just being like, yeah, we'll get him back next year. And then oh man, he's going to be a stud. So
Yes,
I've got Hurts, Eckler, Chubb, Jefferson, Wilson, Waller, Ridley, Gano, and the Commanders. You've got Mahomes, Bijan, CMC, Tyreek Hill, Jamar, TJ Hawkinson, Devontae Adams, Tucker, and the Ravens defense. And that's going to wrap our first episode back. So thank you guys for listening. Any closing takes?
No, honestly, just happy to be back at it.
Yeah,
It's good to be back, and we'll keep pushing out content, getting stuff out there for you guys. But
be sure to check us out on TikTok and Twitter. And then we'll be back on Monday, recapping week 1 and looking forward to week 2, talking storylines, talking schematics. But other than that, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next week.